Larry Epps. Her name is Love. Her name is Love, Larry Epps.
Have you ever stolen anything? Have you? Well, I have. I was a little thief. Mr. Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters, ladies and gentlemen, I was a thief. When I was a little boy, we lived near a drugstore. Today they call them pharmacists. And in the middle of that drugstore was a toy rack that spent around and around. And every day I would go to that toy rack and I would spin it and look at all those wonderful toys. And one day I looked at my favorite toy. I took the toy off the rack, looked around, and put it in my little short pants pocket and made my way home. I got on my front porch and I unwrapped the toy and I took it out of the paper. And it was a little wind-up man, and he had a dog that yapped at his feet. And when you wound it up, the little man would turn round and around and around and around, and I just grinned and played with that toy. And then my mama came to the door. Boy, where did you get that toy from? Mr. John gave it to me, Mama. I'm going to ask you again, boy. Where did you get that toy? Mr. John gave it to me. Boy, you lying. Mama, I'm telling the truth. And I lived in the era where beatings were common. And you were told to go and get your own switch. She said, boy, go get me a switch. I got the switch. And you had to make a choice whether to get a little bitty one, a medium, or a large one. I chose a large. And in that day, she wore my behind out. And I began to cry. And she said, come on. She grabbed me by the hand. And when she grabbed me by the hand, I was crying. She was taking me to the drugstore where I had stolen the toy. And I was saying, she said, come on! We reached the drugstore. Upon reaching the drugstore, she said, Mr. John, my boy came home with this toy. Do you know how he got this toy? Mr. John, he looked at me, he looked at the toy, he looked at my mom. He looked at me, he looked at the toy, he looked at my mom. He looked at me, he looked at the toy, and he looked at my mom. Mr. John said, I gave it to him. My mother took me back home. She said, son, I love you, but I always want you to tell the truth. You have taken away some joy from me. So you need to get your clothes and go to bed. And so as I laid in bed that night, I went to my mama's room and I said, Mama, do you love me? She said, yes, son, I love you. I just don't love you when you do bad things. I said again, the second time, Mama, do you love me when it's dark? She said, yes, boy, I love you when it's dark. I went back to my room, I came again. Mama, do you love me when I've been bad? She said, you're my child. I I will always love you, no matter what you do. I've always had a passion for mamas. Because mamas have a way of making a way out of no way. I've always had this passion for mamas because I know the difficulties of life when I've been through, when I've gone through my jobs and haven't been successful, when I've been turned down, and I've gone to mama and said, Mama, things just aren't going right. What am I going to do? Her words were, let me tell you something, boy. A setback is a setup for a comeback. You see, mamas always have words of wisdom for you. They always are there for you when you aren't even there for yourself. You just can't wait to Mother's Day to show them appreciation. See, for mothers, every day is a day of Thanksgiving. My mother's not here now, so sometimes I sit down and I write a letter, and I hope she's up there and she'll read it because I want to show her the love. If your mother is miles away, send her a letter, send her a card. Do it every week. And if your mother is near, put your arms around her and show her how much you love her. You see, they're mothers. Their name is love. I challenge you today to show that. Mr. Contest Master.